Hey guys, it's Adam aka Dari Bros here again. Today we're doing another brass review on the Southern Pacific 442 A-6 class. This model was imported by Westside Model Company in 1976, the bicentennial of course. 950 of these were made and they were all factory painted, so these are fairly common models. This particular one has had some paint detailing and touch-up, but it's a wonderful model. These were built by Microcast Mizuno, which was one of the best of the Japanese builders, and just a very high quality model. I believe in my last video I spoke about a Dongjin A-6. Well, this was made 1 year before, but in Japan, and the quality difference at the time between Japanese and Korean brass was significant. The Japanese had been making brass for since the 50s, basically 1948, and made brass all the way up until the mid 80s, and some seldom even past then. But this is one of those great quality Japanese models, and I just want to go over the detail and such. This particular model had always been something I had wanted in, I believe, the 2001 Lionel catalog. I remember this was one of the cover models, I believe, or it was somewhere in that catalog, and I remember being astonished by the colors and everything, the big drivers, and I just think it's really cool. It has a Worthington feed water heater on the side right here, number boards, marker lights, and one thing to note, again, I said I did paint detailing. Front trucks are detailed. The rim on the wheel is painted black, as well as the marker lights being added, and the number board decals, engine train number 53. Now the decaling on the model is not as perfect or prototypical as it should be, but that's okay. You got to remember this was 1976, and most people's trains were the very, very, very plasticky Bachmann. Not that anything's wrong with plastic, especially today's plastic, but if you've ever seen a 1970s plastic model, it's a toy. It's more a toy than anything else. This was a real model. The front of the locomotive features an air tank right here. There is also some train lines for the passenger cars, air lines, and of course the brake lines. You can see the sand dome right there, the steam dome behind it, and this model features, of course, a bell and the whistle. There are pop valves. There's 3 pop valves right here. Those were painted over, unfortunately, but that's okay. That's a pretty easy fix. And on this model there is a turret cover. This turret cover does not open like many of today's modern turret covers, but still it's something that not all engines had when you really go back and look at all these different models. The large spoke drivers really do look great. Since it's drivers are so large, it has a nicely geared gearbox, so it runs well, runs at high speed, runs at low speed, and those drivers help. The valve gear, of course, is really nicely done. It's a Worthington setup. You can see the alligator crossheads and the straight cylinders. The Vanderbilt Tender on this model is very interesting. Especially with the colors, it really shows off the lines. It's very different from anything else ever done. One of these days I probably will get it repainted because the lettering unfortunately is a little wrong. But I do love the toolbox right here, and the trucks are correct. Once again, I did do some detailing on it. Actually on the bottom of it there is a brake setup that has been added, which is really cool. From the factory, it was just kind of like the basic brake stuff. I added the lines and everything, so it really looks cool. The backhead detail on this model is very basic, but the gauges are painted and it does look very good. This is comparable to many of today's models like the Bachmann Spectrum models. Certainly a very nice touch, and at the time not many models had backhead details at all. Another cool little detail to point out is this steam exhaust line right here. It runs all the way down. I believe it goes to this air pump, which is interesting that the air pump on this model is on the engineer side. Most air pumps are normally on the fireman's side, so I find that very interesting. It does have a powered reversing rod and linkage, and this model really just is a really nice, simple model. These models can be had for around the $200 to $250 range. That's one great thing when a model like this is made in such high quantities. It's actually, but just remember, even though 1,000 of these were made, or 950 to be exact, you got to remember today's models are made in the 2 to 3 to 4,000, if not more. So you have to remember that when you're buying something like this. That's why it's still going to be a little more, but it's worth it. You're also never going to lose money on these things, and that's why I buy brass. Finally, let's operate the Southern Pacific Class A-6 442, number 3000, and see how it runs compared to maybe another brass piece or a plastic model of today. It's nice and smooth. Fairly quiet. Not dead silent like some, but you know. That's one thing. These were Mizuno, and Mizuno was known for quality, so we can just see how nicely this runs at slow speeds. Just a really nice model. This is another model that I would say is the perfect beginner piece. These come up quite often and will always hold their value, and just are very pretty. This particular one I think might be a little nicer than many others, but it's not hard to make your model like this one. Again, the only big thing is the paint isn't 100%. The model itself does have all the main details. I'm missing a couple small things like the deck plate and whatever, but that's just stuff that can be easily added. So anyway, another brass train video. I hope you guys are enjoying these. I'm enjoying making them, and we'll see you all in the next video. Peace.